Breaking news from the Philippines. The death toll from Typhoon Kalmaegi has reached at least 90 people, with hundreds of thousands forced to flee their homes. And here's what makes this even more tragic. 49 of those deaths occurred in Cebu, the same province where earthquake survivors were just forced to evacuate from tent cities 5 weeks ago. This is cascading disasters at its most deadly. And this is why understanding these patterns matters. Right now, entire towns across the central Philippines are underwater. Videos show people sheltering on rooftops as cars and shipping containers are swept through the streets below. The official death toll, which is expected to rise, includes 6 crew members of a military helicopter that crashed on Mindanao Island while deployed to assist in relief efforts. Authorities are calling this one of the strongest typhoons to hit the Philippines this year. And the devastation is concentrated in areas that were already vulnerable from previous disasters. Let's talk about what happened and why the death toll is this high. Typhoon Kalmaegi, known locally as Tino or Uwan, made landfall in the central Philippines with sustained winds of 155 kilometers per hour and gusts reaching 205 kilometers per hour. While not a super typhoon, it was powerful enough and positioned perfectly to cause catastrophic damage. The storm brought torrential rainfall, over 200 millimeters in some areas, combined with storm surge that inundated coastal communities. Rivers overflowed. Floodwaters rose faster than people could evacuate. And in the central Philippines, where the geography funnels water into populated valleys, the flooding became deadly. Cebu bore the worst of it. 49 deaths in a single province. Entire towns flooded. Thousands trapped on rooftops waiting for rescue. And here's what makes the Cebu deaths particularly heartbreaking. These communities were already devastated. On September 30th, just 5 weeks ago, a magnitude 6.9 earthquake struck Cebu. 79 people died across the region. Thousands of homes were destroyed or damaged beyond repair. 163 families moved into emergency tent cities in Bogo City and surrounding areas. Those families were still living in tents when Typhoon Kalmaegi approached. They had to evacuate again, this time for a typhoon. Many found shelter with neighbors through an Adopt a Family program where strangers took displaced families into their homes. Now, 49 people in Cebu are dead from flooding. We don't yet know how many of those were earthquake survivors. We don't yet know if any were from those tent cities. But what we do know is that Cebu has been hit by 3 major disasters in 5 weeks. September 30th. Earthquake destroys homes. November 4th. Typhoon forces evacuation. November 5th. Flooding kills 49 people. This is what cascading disasters look like. This is the pattern we've been warning about. And now it's claiming lives. Why was Cebu so vulnerable? Geography plays a major role. Cebu is located in the central Visayas, directly in the path of typhoons moving westward across the Philippines. The island has mountainous terrain that funnels rainfall into valleys and coastal areas. When heavy rain combines with storm surge, the water has nowhere to go. But the recent earthquake made everything worse. Buildings that were already damaged became death traps when floods arrived. Infrastructure that was compromised couldn't handle the additional stress. Communities that had used all their resources recovering from the earthquake had nothing left to prepare for the typhoon. And the psychological toll cannot be overstated. People who just survived an earthquake and were living in tents had to evacuate again. Children who were traumatized by one disaster faced another. Families who lost everything once were at risk of losing everything again. Some of them didn't survive. The flooding itself was catastrophic. Videos circulating on social media show scenes that are difficult to comprehend. People stranded on rooftops with water rising around them. Cars completely submerged or being swept down streets like toys. Shipping containers, massive metal boxes weighing tons, floating through urban areas and crashing into buildings. Emergency responders couldn't reach many areas because roads were impassable. The military deployed helicopters for rescue operations. One of those helicopters crashed, killing all 6 crew members on board. These were people trying to save lives who gave their own lives in the effort. Communication networks went down in multiple areas. Power outages are widespread. This means the death toll we're seeing now, 90 people, is almost certainly going to rise as rescue teams reach more remote communities and as missing persons reports are confirmed. Historically, Philippines typhoon death tolls take days or even weeks to fully establish. After Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, the death toll continued rising for weeks as bodies were recovered and missing persons were confirmed dead. The initial reports were in the hundreds. The final count exceeded 6,300. We're not suggesting Kalmaegi will reach anywhere near that level, but 90 deaths is the current confirmed count. The actual number is likely higher. Beyond Cebu, other provinces are dealing with significant damage. The Dinagat Islands, which lost power completely before the typhoon even made landfall, remain in darkness. Eastern Visayas, still recovering from the previous typhoon that hit just days earlier, is dealing with compounded flooding. And this is the critical point that needs to be understood. These aren't isolated disasters, they're connected. Each one makes the next one worse. When Typhoon Christine hit in late October, it saturated the soil across multiple regions. When Typhoon Leon followed days later, that saturated soil couldn't absorb more water. When Typhoon Kalmaegi arrived a week later, the ground was already waterlogged, so flooding was immediate and severe. When the September earthquake damaged buildings in Cebu, those weakened structures became more vulnerable to wind and flooding. When families moved into tents, they lost the protection of solid housing. When communities exhausted their emergency funds on earthquake recovery, they had nothing left for typhoon preparation. This is the cascading effect. This is why 90 people are dead, and this is why climate change matters. Because these patterns are accelerating. The Philippines has always experienced typhoons, 20 per year on average. That's geography, that's unavoidable. But what's changing is the intensity, the rapid succession, and the inability to recover between events. Warmer ocean temperatures provide more energy for storms to intensify. Climate patterns are shifting, leading to unusual storm tracks and clustering. Communities that used to have weeks or months between major disasters now get days. The Philippines contributes less than half of 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions, but Filipino families are evacuating 3 times in 3 weeks. Filipino children are experiencing trauma after trauma. Filipino communities are being destroyed repeatedly with no time to rebuild. 49 people dead in Cebu, 90 across the Philippines, 6 military rescuers killed trying to save others, hundreds of thousands displaced. The numbers will rise. And the next typhoon is already forming in the Pacific. This isn't speculation, this is the reality. Peak typhoon season in the Philippines runs through November and into December. More storms are coming, more communities will evacuate, more families will lose everything. The question isn't whether the Philippines will face another disaster. The question is when, and whether communities will have had any time to recover from this one before the next one hits. What can be done? In the immediate term, rescue and relief operations are underway. The Philippine Red Cross, local government units, and international aid organizations are working to reach affected communities. People need food, water, medical supplies, and shelter. If you want to help, donate to established organizations with proven track records. The Philippine Red Cross and the Department of Social Welfare and Development are coordinating relief efforts. Avoid donating to unverified social media fundraisers. In the medium term, these communities need to rebuild, but they need to rebuild better. Stronger building codes, better flood management infrastructure, early warning systems that reach everyone, evacuation centers that can handle the volume of people needing shelter. In the long term, the world needs to address climate change. Because the Philippines can't adapt fast enough to keep up with increasingly intense and frequent disasters. No amount of preparation can overcome the fundamental reality that disasters are coming faster than recovery is possible. The 90 people who died in this typhoon can't be brought back. The families who lost everything for the second or third time this year can't have that suffering erased, but their experiences can inform how we approach disaster risk in the future. We can honor them by acknowledging that this isn't normal, this isn't acceptable, this isn't something communities should just have to endure because of geography. The Philippines sits in a typhoon belt. That's unchangeable. But the intensity, frequency, and deadliness of these disasters is being made worse by human actions. And those actions can be changed. Cebu's earthquake survivors didn't deserve to face a deadly typhoon 5 weeks later. The 6 military crew members didn't deserve to die trying to rescue people from a disaster that could have been less severe with better preparation. The 49 people who died in Cebu flooding didn't deserve to drown in a disaster that was made worse by previous disasters they'd already survived. This is cascading disasters at their most tragic. This is what it looks like when resilience is stretched beyond its limits. This is what happens when communities can't catch their breath between catastrophes. 90 people dead. The number will rise. More typhoons are coming, and the cycle continues. Stay informed. Monitor CEBU'S for official weather updates. If you're in the Philippines, know your evacuation routes. Prepare emergency kits. Help your neighbors. Practice bayanihan. And if you're anywhere else in the world, understand that this is what climate change looks like on the ground. This is the human cost. These aren't statistics. These are families. These are communities. These are lives. The Philippines is showing the world what happens when disasters cascade faster than recovery is possible. The world needs to pay attention. Our thoughts are with every family affected by Typhoon Kalmaegi, with the earthquake survivors in Cebu who faced yet another disaster, with the military crew members who died trying to save others, with the hundreds of thousands displaced and uncertain when they'll return home. 90 people dead, and the storms keep coming. I'm Beneath the Depths. Subscribe for continued coverage of disasters in the Philippines and the patterns that connect them. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember that every disaster is both a consequence of past actions and a warning about the future if we don't change course.